Okay, guys, so I'm going to answer some questions that were submitted by students. And these are some good questions that you guys have turned in. If you are watching the Q&A and you would like to submit questions to me, feel free to join the Black Stock Market Program if you haven't done that yet. That's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. It's better than any college class you've ever taken. And if it's not better than any college class you've ever taken, then let us know. We'd like to give you your money back. And the first month will only cost you $1. So anybody who happens to see any of these Q&As and wants to dig in and just send me questions, just know I answer all my students' questions, every single one of them. And that's what I'm doing right now. So here is, okay, first question. Okay, I see one about penny stocks. I don't believe in penny stocks. Penny stocks are fool's gold. Most penny stocks are in what is called a very bad market, which would be, or an illiquid market. Illiquidity, an illiquid market means that it's very difficult to sell your asset without losing a lot of money. So you do not want to, I'm not going to tell you not to dig into penny stocks. I mean, this is not investment advice, this is education. But I don't mess with penny stocks at all. They're very tempting because you're thinking, oh, if it's 30 cents, then if it goes up to $30 and I'll make a ton of money. That almost never happens. A lot of penny stocks are just not good companies. They're not adequately regulated. One of the reasons why you benefit from being a part of the stock market that's in the United States is because it's heavily regulated, almost like the difference between a neighborhood that's safe and has lots of protection, security and police, versus a neighborhood that has no protection and lots of criminals in it. Penny stocks are kind of like the bad neighborhood with criminals and no protection. I'm not gonna say cops because I know people hate cops now, but at the same time you got to remember, when people get scared or something's about to happen, the first thing they do is call the cops. So let's at least try to be balanced about that, right? Kanithia asks, first, thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge you're providing for your students. I had to spend 6 years in college and tens of thousands of dollars in business school to find out that they were not going to help me become an entrepreneur, not even work in that field. I'm so grateful that I found this school. I've been singing your praise to everyone around me. Now to get to my question. Okay, first thing I'll do is respond to what you said. That's why we created the Black Business School. I remember I taught at Syracuse University, the Ohio State University, the University of Rochester. I taught in China. I also taught at University of Kentucky and Indiana University. And I've taught probably about maybe 15 different finance classes at the college level. Also, I taught mathematics at the University of Kentucky and statistics as well. And one of the things that I found a long time ago, this was something that bothered me, is that a lot of universities basically leave black people in debt. The average black college graduate is expected to die in debt. So what you're doing is you're taking the so-called talented 10th, the smartest among our community, the people that are supposed to actually pull us out of our oppression, and these individuals are actually economically oppressed because they're going to die in debt. That when you die in debt, that means that game over. You lost the game. Your net worth is negative. So you have to find another way. And the only way I can think to get around that is to accelerate your income. And the best way to accelerate your income is learning how to start a business. I've seen people working regular jobs making $4,000 a month end up making $400,000 a month because they joined a group for entrepreneurs, took some classes, and found maybe a hair care product that could sell really well. I mean, Super Scent, the lady that was put in Essence magazine, I don't think she went to college, and she made $1 million in 90 minutes. Now, I'm not trying to say everybody does that, but maybe you would make $10,000 in 90 minutes or $100,000 in 90 minutes, right? So, I think that one thing you might want to think about is that, a great alternative to a college degree is something like this, right? To go to college, they have you borrow, some insane amount of money, some ridiculous amount, enough that you could use to buy a house. It might be $150,000, $200,000. So you have a mortgage and you have no house. If I had a choice between a college degree and a house, I'd rather put that $200,000 in a house. Because, in most places, the property value is going to rise up and you're going to make a lot more money from the house than you would from that degree in many cases. But the second piece of that, though, is what if what if you had an option in your family where you said, look, you can go to college and you can borrow $150,000 to get a bachelor's degree, or you can go start a business and get, borrow $50,000 to start a small business after taking, maybe 6 months or a year in intense entrepreneurship training where you're learning everything you need to know to learn how to start a business. To make a business run, and this is something I'm working with the students on in our investment clubs, you can build an economy. An economy consists of some basic elements that you can pull together, consisting of contractors, customers, and capital. So if you get the capital and then you get the contractors who can do the work and design the product, develop the product that the customers need, and then you find your customers, you can actually create something better than what a degree would give you. You create an economic machine. An economic machine, particularly one that's based on technology, is far superior to a human machine. A human being takes a college degree, you shove a bunch of information in your brain, you then go sell yourself. You are the commodity. You sell yourself to, employers, typically employers who are not black, hoping that they'll help you capitalize on your investment. Well, if you have an economic machine, it's a little bit different in that if you set up, the right technology machine or the right kind of business, that business can be set up with systems and technology can work while you're sleeping. So, ideally, I used to think that the best jobs out here or the best opportunities out here was like maybe to be some lawyer making $500 an hour or something like that. Now I don't believe that anymore because I know $500 an hour lawyers. I know lawyers who make $500 an hour and they're exhausted. Like their quality of life is crap. Like they're working all the time. I mean, you're making $500 an hour, and if you don't work, you don't eat. And the money's so good, so you're just working, and you're missing all the things that matter in your life. You're missing your family. You're missing your health is falling apart. Your mental health is gone, and you're gonna get old and die. You die at your desk, and you got heart disease and everything else. I think the best options, in terms of the big dream to have, is something where you have a machine that's working for you while you sleep. That's also making $500 an hour. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These machines exist. I know people who can go to bed at 10 o'clock and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and have made $3,000 while they were sleeping. I'm not making this up. I know people who do this. So I would just tell you, I'm a big advocate for our children. I don't care if you go to college or not. If you want to go to college, go. College is fun. There's lots. You can learn good stuff at college. But one thing I can tell you as a college professor, as a guy who's taught at these expensive universities, Syracuse University, where I used to teach, the tuition is like $60,000 a year or something ridiculous. It's not worth the money. I can just tell you that that college professors don't typically know how to really make money. And a lot of black people I know really want to make money. They go to college because they want to make money. They don't want to be broke anymore. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't go if you want to get a professional license. Like if you want to be a social worker, you need a license for that. You got to go to college. If you want to be a nurse, you need a license for that. You got to go to a college, right? You want to be a lawyer, you need a license for that. Doctor, license for that. Pharmacist, license for that. But what about things that you don't need a license? I would say that your license when it comes to entrepreneurship is nothing that you get from a university. You know what your entrepreneurship license is? It is when that customer buys your damn product and they walk away happy and they're willing to give you more of their money. At that point, I don't care if you didn't go to school for 30 seconds. You have a license as an entrepreneur. You are licensed when you start making money. That's all there is to it, point blank, period. Okay, so I know I was on a soapbox for a minute with that, but I really just felt that Kenithia's question really, it triggered me actually, because there's so many things that I've just figured out over time, and this is my gospel. This is what I believe. This is what I'm sharing with you guys, and I hope you're going to tell this to your kids, and I hope you're going to internalize at least some of this, because I can tell you, I want you to win, and I've done it. I've done it all. I did the whole, like, I'm going to work really hard, make good grades, and get all these degrees, and keep going back to school, and make more money. I did that because I didn't know any better. Now that I've seen the mountaintop, so to speak, I'm kind of like, ooh, there was a better route to the top. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that, and so there you go. All right, so let's see here. Now to get to my question, I noticed on Acorns and Stash investment plans, you can only add 2 children. If I wanted to add more than 2, do I need to spread them out over apps? Yeah, you might have to. So you're talking about custodial accounts, Kenithia. A custodial account is where you're putting money aside for your child. Everybody on earth who loves their kids should invest for their children. We in the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, which is our program for children at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. In that program, we use what is called the KID model for raising your child to become a millionaire. And the KID model stands for knowledge, investment, and discipline. So you give the child the knowledge, meaning the training. You give them the investment, using things like the $5 a day plan that I gave you guys to build wealth. And then discipline. You have to teach them how to be disciplined with wealth and what financial responsibility looks like. Things that my grandmother taught me, when she was kind of a no-nonsense sort of person. So I think that's important. One thing I don't believe, though, is that you have to have a custodial account for your child. A custodial account gives control of that money to your child. I have a daughter, I have 3 stepchildren, I have several godchildren, and not one of them is going to get a significant amount of money from me that is in their name. It will be in a trust. It is in a trust, and I will control that money while I'm living, and I will also control that money when I'm dead. You are not going to make me a statistic. And what do I mean by that? Well, 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation. I don't know if you know that or not, and so I've just pretty much determined that's not going to happen to me. So I talked to the lawyers, talked to the accountants about setting up trusts so that there will be assets available that will be dispersed to them in a timely manner so that they are not destitute. They're going to do well financially. They're going to have money to do whatever they want to do, but they're not going to have a big lump of money that they can go waste on drugs or hookers or a new Lamborghini or whatever. I want that money to be used responsibly. So I encourage you to control your money. I'm a big fan of that. I'm not a fan of giving, $100,000 to an 18-year-old. Let's see here. Also, if someone is gifted an inheritance, would it be better to add a large amount to our children's investment account and let it sit for 20 or 30 years instead of recurring payments? Yeah, well, anytime you let money sit, it's going to grow. If you just buy some stocks, and just do it consistently and just let it sit there for 30 years, you're going to be in the top 10% of wealth builders in America. I don't care how poor you are, at this moment. Historically, anybody who, took the same amount of money, maybe the amount that you might put into fast food, and just bought stock with that every week and just did that for 30 years is gonna be wealthy. Like, there's no time in history where that has not been true. You just have to make sure you spread your money out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, so Kanithia also asks, on the $5 a day plan video, you asked us to share the video. I would love to share, but I don't know how to share it. Well, if I can't remember if I made it a YouTube video or not. If it's a YouTube video, you can just share the URL. If it's inside the Black Business School, then they might have to join the program in order to get access. If they want to join, like I said, we make the programs as inexpensive as possible. I think the average Black Business School student maybe spends like $100 or something, or $200, or maybe a little more. If they want specialized attention, like in a master class or something, there's a little bit more. But compared to the cost of learning from professors in college, it's nothing. So and the reason we don't do everything for free is because you can't run a black business. You can't run a black business for free. You can't run it on fumes. You can't run it on nothing. You can't run it on corporate money, because corporations will then control our message. We can't run it on government money because the government isn't necessarily going to support, a pro-black message. We believe deeply in building the black community. That's all we care about. And so basically we have to ask the community. We come to the community and say, look, the amount of money that you're spending with white people, we would like some of that money. We'd like for you to show us that you care enough about your future to make an investment in your future, the same way you'll invest in Popeye's chicken, the same way you might invest in Air Jordans, the same way you might invest in sending your kids to football camp. We ask you to make an investment to send your children to financial camp. And if you're not ready to do that, there's still a space for you. We still love you. We have some free stuff for you, but we're not going to do the work for you. We need you to be willing to do the work. We only want to work with people that want to do the work. So, but we make it simple, but we do ask them to do something. I'm not a big fan of treating black people like we're disabled. That's just not beneficial. And speaking of that, I don't know if you guys know, today I'm doing this recording on July 7th. On July 8th at 8 p.m., that's when our options investing masterclass starts. So if you really want to supercharge your stock portfolio, stock options are a really fascinating way to do that. And so basically I put together a whole masterclass of 6 weeks to show you everything on how to trade options and how they work, and creative ways to help you really understand options to the core. So feel free to take a look at drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. Okay, so Cy Young says, hello, in one of your lectures you recommend using more than one investment app. My question is, do you advise dividing the $5 a day into $150 a month? Yeah, I mean, $150 a month is fine. It could be, $35 a week. It doesn't have to be exactly $5 a day. It could be $6 a day. It could be $4 a day. The point of the illustration was to show you how easy it is to build wealth, despite, which is in complete contrast to everything that you hear. In media, they politicize things, so they almost make it sound impossible to build wealth, and they don't understand what they don't understand. I guess because they don't understand finance very well. I do. I know all the mathematics behind it. They don't understand that if a person, you take a person in the hood, and if you add up the amount of money they spend on fast food, and you took that same amount and invested it in the stock market on a regular basis, that person would be very wealthy within about 20 years. That person would have more money than 90% of the country. If you took the amount of, I don't know if you don't know, any of you guys know people that have, that seem poor but spend lots of money, have spent literally thousands of dollars on all kinds of stuff. So I don't tell people not to enjoy their money, but what I say is that you should never waste more than you invest. I think that's one of the really basic fundamental rules of wealth that exists out there that I think can really benefit you is never waste more than you invest. Never, throw away more than you plant when it comes to your seeds. So that's my 2 cents. I've had the M1 Finance app for a year. Before enrolling in the stock market course, I knew little to nothing about buying stocks, but then I followed the steps from a YouTube video on how to get started. So now I plan to register with Stash app along with M1 Finance. Good. Yeah, I have about 4 different apps I use, but you don't have to use 4. You can use 1 or 2 or 3. I would say 2 or 3 just to diversify a little bit. Let's see here. Tara, should I consider investing in ETFs? I love ETFs. ETFs, aka exchange traded funds. They are awesome. They're a great way to diversify and to get exposure to specific industries that you like. Let's see here. Litre says, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? I feel like people are so lost in the matrix, they don't even see what's going on around them. I love your classes and all that you teach on becoming financially independent because situations like this is some of the reasons why Social Security is running out of money. Yeah, Social Security, don't depend on Social Security. There's no security in depending on Social Security. And what's really frightening is that there are a lot of us that don't even think about retirement as if we're going to stay young forever. And that's a big price to pay because I run into a lot of clients who are trying to catch up, trying to do something magical to, accumulate a lifetime of investment and wealth in a 4 or 5 year period. And there's no magic formula. You got to do the work. It's just like losing weight. It's really hard in a healthy way to lose 100 pounds in a week. You're just not going to do it, right? So the key is baby steps, right? So all of you who are not 75 years old, take those baby steps. Be consistent. Let's see, Sean, Dr. Boyce, does your Black Business School offer a program on affiliate marketing? You know what? We don't really do that yet. I'll keep an eye out. We're actually doing something where we're expanding and bringing in new faculty, and we're going to send out emails and offer people the opportunity to create, curricula that they can, sell to the school. And we will buy your curriculum from you in your area of expertise. And it's almost like the way Netflix will buy a movie from you, or we'll buy your curriculum from you, and you can still own it. Actually, we don't even need to own it. We would just license it so that we could use it, and you can still keep it. Like, we don't want to take anybody's stuff. So I am going to look for something on affiliate marketing at some point. We just haven't gotten around to it. Can I recommend an online school that teaches that affiliate marketing? You may want to check Udemy, Udemy. They might have a class on affiliate marketing. That would probably be a good place to start. Let's see, John Edmondson. Hello, Dr. Watkins. I'm a Muslim. I did the course, and I couldn't find much without interest being spoken of in the course. Interest is forbidden for Muslims. So what can I study in the course that doesn't deal with interest? Well, John, I'm not 100% sure. I have to do the research on it. But, here's the thing. When you loan somebody money, there's something called the time value of money that is always in existence no matter what. When somebody loans you money, the reason interest is charged is for 3 reasons. One is because of risk. There's the risk that they might not get their money back. The rule of finance is that you should get compensated for risk that you take. The higher the reward, the more you're willing to take the risk. If there is no reward, you won't usually take the risk. The second reason people charge interest is because of inflation. Inflation means basically that $1 today is worth far more than $1 tomorrow. Every day, your dollar erodes in value. So if I loan you $1,000 today and you give me that same $1,000 10 years from now, you're not giving me back what I gave you. You're giving me something that has less value. The third reason that interest is charged is what they call the time value of money. The time value of money is just kind of an inconvenience factor. It's what they call the impatience parameter. It's the fact that when you have my money, I can't use my money. When you have access to my capital, I don't have access to my capital. So basically, that last piece, that time value of money piece, or that impatience parameter, is another reason why interest is always charged. So what I'd be curious to learn about, and I haven't had a chance to research this, but I'd be willing to bet you that even though interest is forbidden among Muslims, it's not completely forbidden among Muslims. I would be willing to bet you that there's some sort of compensation that comes in when I let you hold my money. If I've got my money in my pocket and I need it, and I know it's going to erode in value and all that. If I have $1 million, why would I give you my million and let you hold my million for 20 years? I would need to receive some sort of compensation for that. So it doesn't in any way defame or deface the way finance is done in Muslim countries. I have to just research this. But it does say that a lot of times what happens in economics is that when you forbid one thing, you create a black market or you create another market somewhere else, right? So maybe I say, look, I'm forbidden from charging you interest for loaning you money. So in exchange for me loaning you money, you got to let me use your car while you hold my money, right? So that's a type of interest. It's just not interest in the form of cash, right? So I would almost say that interest. I just can't imagine places where large amounts of money are being loaned without somebody getting some sort of compensation for letting somebody else hold their money. All right, so Skeet Moses says, you talk about buying and holding. Some families have held stocks for generations. What does that do for them? What does holding do for you or your finances to benefit you or the next generation? The reason that holding over a long term is beneficial is because that's when you really get that compound interest effect really kicking in your portfolio. There's something David Bach refers to as the automatic millionaire. And the automatic millionaire concept is basically the idea that you have working class, regular people, regular families that just commit a percentage of their income to investing consistently and in a diversified portfolio. And they don't think about it, they set it and forget it. So it becomes this little money machine where money's just constantly being sort of dumped into their stock portfolio. And what happens is the more you keep doing that, in putting money in your stock portfolio, your money comes alive. That's what we call financial fertility. Your money comes alive and your dollars start to bring in more dollars, and your dollars start to build and multiply themselves. And then next thing you know, it's very easy to make money because you've got this momentum going. And so basically, holding stocks for generations is another way to get that long-term compounding effect. There are families that just want to own assets. Wealth is defined primarily by what you own, what you control, right? So when you buy a share of stock, sure, you can look at the market and say, I bought these shares for $1,000. Now they're worth $1,200. I made $200. Or you could just say, I have $1,000 worth of stock, but more importantly, that $1,000 worth of stock is an average of 50 shares at an average of $20 a share. So I own 50 shares of these companies, right? That's something I own. I have 50 shares, whether the price goes up or the price goes down, I always control 50 shares. So it's almost like buying 50 acres of land, right? I have 50 acres of land. So if you buy land, and you just say, I want to keep this land in my family for several generations, it's not like every day somebody comes to, it's not like somebody comes to your, give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. It's not like somebody comes to your house every day and says, oh, your land was worth $130,000 yesterday. Now it's worth $138,000. Oh, I made $8,000. No, you own 50 acres of land, no matter what the value is, right? The only time money comes into the equation is when you decide to convert it into money. So there are some families that just say, we just have assets. We have these assets here. We can convert them into cash in case we need them. We can borrow against them. You can treat shares of stock the same way you treat acres of land. So there are some families, the same way you have families that will hold acres of land for many generations, there are families that will hold shares of stock for many generations. And 99 times out of 100, that's a winning strategy as long as they diversify and spread the money out. Now, if you're holding a bunch of shares in one company, then you have the risk of that one company going bankrupt. But if you hold shares in 100 companies, the chances of all 100 of those companies going bankrupt is pretty much zero. There's no probability of that happening at all, right? So so effectively, building wealth is one thing, protecting wealth is another. One of the important keys of protecting wealth is diversification, buying and holding, and patience. Patience is really important in investing. All right, guys. So I'm gonna put this video in Ask Dr. Boyce. I'm gonna load it up there. And so if you haven't gotten access to the Q&As and the private blog and stuff like that, you can go, just feel free to sign up at theblackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. You can get started for $1 for the first month. And also, don't forget that tomorrow, July 8th, at 8 p.m. the masterclass starts on options investing, so you can join at drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. All right, guys. So take care, and I shall see you soon, and have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.